Namaste, welcome. This is Lighthouse Yoga Evanston, Lighthouse Tarot and Astrology, also Outcast Astrology. My name is Thomas. This is a reading from the Tarot, A Key to the Wisdom of the Ages, Classic Guide by Paul Foster Case. This is Chapter 11, Key 7, the Chariot. Chaith, 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 Ch, and Ha, as in help. Value 8 is pronounced Chayeth. It means a field and the fence enclosing it. Fence suggests enclosure, protection, defense. Specific location, an area set apart for cultivation. It also implies shielding, safeguard, refuge, and safety. Thus, it corresponds to the ideas represented by the words carapace and shell. The idea of location refers back to house or beith, as does that of shelter. A cultivated field is in contrast to the open country pictured in Key 6, the lovers. Cultivation, again, is suggested by the gardens of the magician and the empress. Again, the enclosure of a particular area by a fence is what happens in the mental world when we define anything, so that chaith is also related to he, considered as the definite article. Speech is the human function attributed to chaith by Kabbalists. Speech defines. Words are like fences, enclosing particular fields of consciousness. The field of speech continually engages the labors of the practical occultist and the applied psychologist. The attribution of speech to chaith, therefore, indicates that words have preservative and protective power, that right use of language is a means to safety. Extend the meaning of speech from the spoken word to the unspoken words of thought, and you will understand why the wise have always attached so much importance to right speech. Intelligence of the house of influence is the Kabbalistic name for the mode of consciousness corresponding to chaith. Literally, it is, quote, consciousness of that which is the abode of inflowing power, end quote. It is consciousness of the fact that human personality is like a fenced-in area, wherein universal forces are at work. These forces flow into personality from beyond its boundaries. Taking form in the silent speech of thought and finding utterance in the spoken word, they flow out through personality into actual expression and manifestation. East, below, is represented on the cube of space by the line or edge connecting the lower ends of the vertical lines northeast and southeast. This edge marks the junction of the eastern and bottom faces of the cube, attributed respectively to Daleth and Venus, and to Gimel and the moon. Keys 3 and 2, the Empress and the High Priestess. Here is an intimation that, though self-consciousness elements are involved, the mental activities symbolized by Key 7 are carried on at the subconscious level. A little self-study will convince you that your thought and speech are largely subconscious in origin. Your vocabulary depends on subconscious associative processes. Your sentences, your style, your figures of speech, all these take shape below the self-conscious level. Cancer, the crab, a cardinal watery sign, is attributed to chaith. Here we see the connection between the letter name fence and the crab's hard carapace. Cancer is ruled by the moon, key 2, the high priestess, and the planet Jupiter, key 10, wheel of fortune, is exalted therein. Cancer governs the breast, the chest, a fence of bones, and the stomach. It is a psychic receptive sign. Its natives are said by astrologers to be endowed with tenacious memory. All this is in accordance with the basic meanings of the letter name Chet. In our color scale, the tint assigned to Cancer is orange-yellow. The corresponding musical tone is D sharp, or E flat. The Chariot is the usual title of key 7. Sometimes it is the charioteer, which is even better, since the picture, as Dr. Waite says, is really the king in his triumph, typifying, however, the victory which creates kingship as its natural consequence. Note that the number of the card, 7, is that to which Kabbalists assign the idea of victory. In the background is a walled city. The wall is a stone fence. The city is a collection of houses, corresponding to the ideas relating to Beth and the magician. The windows of some of the buildings are clearly shown, indicating that what is represented by He and the emperor is also behind the surface meaning of key 7. The wall, however, is what most clearly establishes the correspondence of this trump to Chet, the fence. Trees and a river in the middle distance remind us of the symbolism of key 3, the empress. This is correct because speech is not only composed of definitions, but also embodies mental imagery, the empress, and gives form to the stream of consciousness. As the river in tarot rises from the watery substance of the robe of the high priestess, and as trees are associated with the rich fertility of the empress's garden, here, too, is the combination suggested by east below. East is the empress, and below the high priestess. The chariot itself is a movable fence, corresponding to the letter Chet. Its body is a cube, carrying out the symbolism of the cubes whereon the high priestess and emperor sit. Moreover, it is of gray stone, so that it combines the notion of wisdom, gray, and of the union of father and son, suggested by the Kabbalistic meaning of Eben, stone. Surmounting the body of the chariot are 4 pillars, supporting a starry canopy. The number 4 is the number of order and measurement. It refers also to the 4 elements: fire, water, air, and earth. Each pillar is divided into 2 equal parts, reminding us of the Hermetic axiom, that which is above is as that which is below. The point of division at the center of each pillar is surrounded by a ring. This is a symbol of spirit, for the rings are circles, like 0 signs. The idea is that each of the 4 elements is encircled by the one spirit. The starry canopy represents the celestial forces. Their descent into the physical plane through the activity of the 4 elements is the cause of all external manifestation. Thus, the stars in the azure canopy symbolize the correlation of the influences of distant suns and planets, of zodiacal constellations, and of human forces. This canopy, therefore, represents the forces which surround the earth and seem to be above us in the sky. It represents also the subtle, metaphysical forces which are above the level of personality. It is therefore a symbol of what Eliphas Levi called astral light. A shield on the face of the car has the same significance as the letter name, the wall in the background, and the car itself. The red symbol on the shield is one form of the Hindu lingam yoni, typifying the union of positive and negative forces in action, red. In some old tarot keys, the shield bears the letters period V period T, written with the periods at the left of the letters to show that they are to be read, like Hebrew, from right to left. So read, they spell the Hebrew word TV, or Tav. This is the name of the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. To an occultist, this conveys the same fundamental idea as the lingam yoni, because the original character for Tav was a cross, combining the vertical masculine line with the feminine horizontal, like the cross on the breast of the high priestess. Above the shield is a variation of the Egyptian winged globe. The globe is gold or yellow, suggesting self-consciousness, because in our color scale, yellow corresponds to Mercury and the magician. The wings are blue, like the robe of the high priestess. They are symbols of aspiration. The charioteer is crowned, and the crown is surmounted by 3 golden pentagrams. The pentagram represents mental dominion. 3 are shown because the control we exert over cosmic forces by right use of the power of speech does really extend over 3 worlds. This detail of symbolism agrees with older forms of tarot symbolism. In the rider pack, the diadem is a golden 8-pointed star, having much the same meaning as the pentagrams, but more particularly emphasizing the idea of the cosmic order typified in tarot by the Wheel of Fortune and its 8 spokes. This order is the expression of the supervising authority of the One Self, symbolized in key 17 by a golden or yellow 8-pointed star. That's the star card. The Chariot's hair is fair, like that of the Empress and the Fool. On their shoulders are lunar crescents, indicating the rulership of the moon in Cancer. Their cuirass is greenish yellow, or the color of brass, to show that it symbolizes the protective power of creative imagination, represented in tarot by the Empress, inasmuch as brass is a metal sacred to Venus. A square on this cuirass represents order and purity by its shape and color. On it are 3 black T's, which stand for the limiting power of Saturn. They also, like the VT on older versions, refer to the letter Tav. The charioteer's golden belt suggests light and is ornamented with indistinct signs, among which is one which is plainly the astrological symbol for Cancer. The position of this belt suggests the slanting circle of the ecliptic. It represents time and the influences of stellar forces. The skirt below the cuirass is divided into 8 parts and is ornamented with geometric symbols, used in making magical talismans. They typify dominion over terrestrial forces. The charioteer's scepter is surmounted by a figure 8, combined with a crescent. This is a combination of the symbol over the magician's head with the lunar crown of the high priestess. Thus, the rider's ensign of authority shows that his dominion is a result of the blending of the powers of self-consciousness with those of subconsciousness. Everything about the charioteer suggests that they sum up all the powers and potencies of the personages who have preceded them in the series of major trumps. The charioteer is their synthesis. They are the true self, the master power behind all forms of life expression. Hence, Dr. Waite tells us, the charioteer has led captivity captive. They are conquest on all planes, in the mind, in science, in progress, in certain trials of initiation. They are above all things, triumph in the mind. The charioteer's car symbolizes, by its canopy and cubical body, the combination of celestial and terrestrial forces. Viewed from the front, it is in the form of an oblong square. Thus it corresponds to the traditional Masonic form of the lodge. The quote lodge corresponds to the temple, and we have the highest authority for the doctrine that human personality is the living temple of the Most High. Thus the chariot is truly the house of influence, and stands for human personality as the vehicle or channel of self-expression, through which the omnipresent self manifests its dominion over all things. The sphinxes which draw the car are an innovation suggested by Eliphas Levi. Older versions of tarot show horses, which are sometimes joined together, like Siamese twins. The horses are sun symbols. The sphinxes, combining animal and human attributes, suggest a force common to men and animals. Their contrasting colors are like the contrast between the pillars of the high priestess. Moreover, the white sphinx wears a beneficent expression, while the features of the black one show a forbidding frown. The white sphinx is a symbol of mercy, and the black one of severity. Note that their contrasting expressions are similar to those of the human faces in the lunar crescents on the rider's shoulders. By mythological allusion, the sphinxes represent the senses, which are continually propounding riddles. Here they are shown at rest, thus agreeing with the notion of rest which Hebrew occultism attributes to the number 7. The yellow wheels of the chariot refer to light energy, but particularly to specific activities associated in tarot with the planet Jupiter. This is the planet exalted in the sign Cancer. It is represented in tarot by the 10th major trump, called the Wheel of Fortune. Jupiter, astrologers say, rules the circulation of the blood, because it has to do with all forms of rotation or circular movement. To this picture, we assign the psychological idea receptivity will. The uninitiated believe their, quote, will to be something originating in personality. The occultist, without in the least denying the fact that free will is part of our equipment, refuses to believe that, quote, personal free will exists. For the occultist, all that we mean by volition is but a synthesis of innumerable cosmic influences coming to a focus at a point within us. Hence, all the great initiates say, with Jesus, quote, of myself I can do nothing. For the same reason, Jacob Boehme wrote, if thou canst, my son, for a while but cease from all thy thinking and willing, then shalt thou hear the unspeakable words of God. When thou art quiet and silent, then art thou as God was before nature and creature. Thou art that which God then was. Thou art that of which he made thy nature and creature. Then thou hearest and seest, even with that wherewith God himself saw and heard in thee, before ever thine own willing or thine own seeing began. End quote. The more perfectly we understand that the office of human personality is to serve as a vehicle for cosmic forces, the more freely does the primal will behind all manifestation find expression through us. To others, we may seem to have very strong personal will. We ourselves will learn from our practice that the strength of our volition is measured by the degree of our willingness to let life find unobstructed manifestation through us. This willingness takes form in thought and word, and the thought itself is unuttered speech. It is a willingness to develop through purposeful concentration, relaxation of body, passivity of mind, one-pointed attention to the real presence in our personal field of the limitless powers of the whole universe, with progressive freedom of the expression of those powers of our dominant purpose. This is the infallible, practical formula for triumph in the mind and elsewhere. Impress subconsciousness again and again with the suggestion that it is the vehicle for universal will. Base these suggestions on reason. See that the one energy enters into all modes of power, celestial and terrestrial. Self-examination will convince you that not the least of your personal actions is anything more or less than a particular manifestation in time and space of some phase of the sum total of cosmic influences. At our present stage of mental development, perfect conceptions of this truth may be impossible, but reasonable ones we may have at a little expense of observation and reason. Subconsciousness is the vehicle through which all plans, ideas, designs, inventions, and forces enter into the personal field. Thought and speech are potent in molding subconscious response. Furthermore, because subconsciousness is also the body-building and body-changing power, suggestions of the type here indicated will eventually make profound alterations in physical structure, so that it becomes able to transform into personal activities, cosmic forces, whose very existence is unsuspected by the greater number of human beings. Complete receptivity is the secret of the most powerful manifestations of will. Receptivity may be increased by control of language. Herein lies the key to all mighty works of practical occultism. For, as Eliphas Levi says truly, all magic is in the will. This ends the chapter, The Chariot. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Add any comments below. Thank you so much.